Hey guys, David here to review the latest episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. entitled Paradise Lost. Now before I go on, I am going to keep the review a little bit on the short side because I am coming down with a cold. I don't know if you can hear it. My voice is a little nasally, but yes, I did contract a cold just recently, so I'm going to have to get through this as fast as possible because I do want to rest up. So, I'm sorry, but that's just how it goes. Anyways, we got a new episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. that was called Paradise Lost. And the reason for that is because it's named after the famous book, because that book plays a big role in this episode where basically this was the Gideon Malik episode. As soon as it started with the flashback back to his childhood, well, not so much childhood, he was like in his like late teens, early 20s or so. But when he flashed back to him and his brother in the beginning, not only was it a strong opening, but the fact that we cut back to him, I'm like, it would be really cool if we could actually revisit those flashbacks to get a sense of the character. Unfortunately, that's where I think this episode shined the most, is shining light on Gideon Malik's past so that he becomes a much more fleshed out character. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt for him by the end of this episode, going through those flashbacks of him bonding with his brother, realizing that his father was manipulating the whole ceremony about whoever draws the white stone is the one that's gonna get sacrificed to Hive. We even get a little cameo by Daniel Whitehall, the Nazi leader that was kind of like second in command to the Red Skull that we've seen in season 2 of Agents of Shield, and that was really cool. And also, all of those events leading up to the big twist of him betraying his brother really did give a very sentimental, I don't want to say sentimental, but a very compelling dimension to Gideon Malik that I've never seen before. Because before he was just this, he was just this bad guy, a traditional bad guy, and eventually we started to see layers of him. And what, in my opinion, that started with last week's episode where he showed fear for Hive, for what he can do, and why he's becoming kind of like rogue in his eyes, like, oh, he's gonna go do his own thing. He took Yara, he dispatched them, so he tells his suspicions to his daughter, who gets cut from the show completely by the end of this episode when Hive, now with the minds of all the I mean, not with the minds, the memories of the people that he's killed, including his brother. That was actually a really great scene where he was like talking like his brother, like, what happened to us? I thought we were together to the end, that kind of thing. That really got to me. And so the only appropriate thing to happen that I knew was coming, but at the same time it was still a very good way to write the character, is to have Hive kill off his daughter. And plus, I don't really hate it, but I am a little bummed, but in a good way, that they didn't fully reveal his face there when he reveals himself to the inner circle. You just see the back of his head with the tentacles coming out, looking like Davy Jones from the Pirates movies. But I did look up some pictures of him in the Inhumans comic book storyline, and he does look like that. He does look like a much more evil science fiction type of version of Davy Jones from the Pirates movies, where he looks like his whole head is made out of tentacles, and that is supposed to be the influence for the actual symbol that represents Hydra. That's where it all came about. And so this whole story with Gideon Malik was, in my opinion, the favorite aspect about this week's episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. All the other stuff was good, it was passable, but some kind of I was interested in some more than others. I mean, they did have their bright spots, but I'm just gonna say it out there. The stuff with Lincoln and Sky finding this guy who can probably tell him about this creature that has inhabited Ward's body, and a little deal out in the desert, and that guy with the accent, to me, was the most uninteresting part of the episode. And then what it led up to with Lincoln confessing that he killed his girlfriend. I was under the impression that he legitimately killed his girlfriend, like with lightning, but then it was revealed that it was just a accident from his alcoholism. And as tragic as that may sound, at the same time, for television, that's very rudimentary. That's very by the books. Like, how many times have we heard that story of that character, like, oh, I killed somebody, I was drunk, and I'm like, okay, all right, fine. They're gonna find a way for this character to have killed somebody without intentionally directly killing somebody. I'm sorry, I'm a morbid motherfucker, but I would have preferred for him to have directly killed somebody with, like, his lightning, his powers, or something like that. Anyways, moving on to some of the other events that transpired, I really did enjoy Coulson and his team capturing Gera, going through the facility. Not sure what exactly they found. They were kind of like back to square one when it came to those things that were like burnt out. They're like, what is this? but I'm a huge fan of how Guerra actually escaped and took over the plane. That was actually menacing and intimidating, and that made Guerra all the more scarier. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the team is going to dispatch him, especially what it did lead to. The only, I'm sorry if that sounds kind of harsh, but the only interesting thing that happened with Lincoln and Daisy was the fact that when they find out that that plane has been taken with May and the rest of the team, Fitz, Simmons, Mac, all of them on board are on that team, they have no other choice but to call in the Secret Warriors. So they're finally coming back. And honestly, it's a little early. I was expecting them to wait a couple of more episodes. That way we can kind of gear up for the finale. But this is episode 16. We still got like 6 more episodes to go before the finale. Now, I am aware that the finale is actually the last 2 episodes. There's no penultimate episode. They're taking the last 2 and they're going to be doing a 2-hour finale on May 17th, I believe. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how this vision that Daisy confesses to Lincoln, that we, as the audience, have seen before, plays out. And being that they are going to call in the Secret Warriors, we see now there's a reason for that crucifix to be in there, because that crucifix belongs to Yo-Yo. We see drops of blood, and we see a S.H.I.E.L.D. jacket. So I want to say anybody can go, but I just can't shake the feeling that it's going to be somebody that we don't know very well, and they're going to play it out to be somewhat of a sacrifice, but it's going to be... I'll be very surprised if they kill off one of the main people. You know, Fitz, Simmons, May, even Daisy. I don't think Coulson, but Daisy and possibly Lincoln, since Lincoln was the only one of the Warriors to actually stay, and of course the rest of the team reminds him that he's mainly staying for Daisy. So the little seed that was planted at the end of this episode, not only with the stuff with Coulson's team and most of them being taken hostage pretty much by Guerra and Daisy having to call in the Secret Warriors, but also Hive now in control of that plane, since he is aware of that. By the end of the episode, he says, we captured the plane. And leading up to an eventual confrontation between Coulson and Ward 2.0, it's going to be very exciting. Plus, I do admire the fact that this episode noted what I was kind of complaining about last week, where when they find out that Ward's body is kind of sort of still alive, even though it's been possessed by this creature, they were reacting kind of comically. I mean, this is a guy that they were trying to kill for some time, and so for him to be revealed like that, I was a little bummed. It just didn't rub well with me. But to see Coulson actually going through some kind of PTSD type of thing going on in this episode, where he's like, I could have sworn I killed Ward, and his little exchange with Fitz, that was very satisfying. So some things kind of faltered here and there, especially with Lincoln and Daisy, but what I loved the most about this episode, which was everything with Malik fleshing out his character and his story pretty much becoming a little bit of a tragedy, was, in my opinion, it overshadowed all the little problems I did have with this episode. So I give Paradise Lost a high 8 out of 10. So let me know what you guys thought of this week's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. What do you look forward leading up to the finale? Do you think Hive is going to go on full reveal? That is, if the budget allows it, because maybe that might be the reason why we always saw the back of his head, is because they could only do so much. Hopefully, they save up their budget, and hopefully they can give us a very grand reveal by the season finale. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.